COVID-19 aid bill will extend the nationwide ban on evictions until the end of January. It is a welcome sigh of relief for millions of Americans. New data from a census survey found an estimated 14 million adults were not caught up on their rent at the beginning of December. The moratorium had been set to expire at the end of this year. It's been in place since the start of September. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention enacted it as part of an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19, but housing advocates say thousands of evictions have still happened. For more, let's bring in Seamus Roller. He's the executive director of the National Housing Law Project. The organization aims to help advance housing justice for low-income people and communities. Seamus, welcome. Great to have you with us. So your organization advocated for an extension of the eviction ban. What happens when the one which just passed expires at the end of January? That's not all that far away.
No, it's just a 1-month extension to the eviction ban overall. And that eviction ban wasn't really that strong to begin with. There are huge loopholes in it. It requires renters to submit a declaration to the landlord. And so many people don't know about the eviction order, or they don't realize that they need to submit that declaration. So more people will be evicted before January as well, because they don't understand what their rights are. But then, even though this new relief package has rental assistance, it's very unlikely that that rental assistance will start to flow before the current eviction ban ends. I think that what Congress is really hoping is that the incoming Biden administration decides to extend the eviction ban all on their own.
And let's talk a little bit about the rental assistance, because the stimulus allocates $25 billion for rental assistance. Is there a way to gauge how much of Americans' back rent this could cover, and who qualifies to receive aid from this fund? How do you go about it? Is it an onerous process, or does that aid come immediately?
Congress targeted the funding towards lower income people, but if you find yourself unable to pay your rent right now, it's likely that you're going to fit the categories that the funding goes to. So it's going to go directly to cities of more than 200,000 people, and then the rest of the funding is going to go to states to be allocated towards rural areas and to smaller cities. So, it's $25 billion. We estimate that there's between $50 and $70 billion in back rent currently, and that's likely to increase over the next couple of months. So it's not going to fix the problem by any means. We really think of it as a down payment towards what's needed to fix the housing crisis overall and to deal with the housing crisis that's been created by COVID. And yet I think it's really crucial funding to come in at this moment. It's going to help people stay in their housing. It's going to help landlords. It's going to have a really positive benefit overall. But what that looks like in practice is partially determined by the individual states and the individual cities that are going to be running these programs.
Right. I was going to say, because there are a lot of both renters and small landlords who are asking, what do I need to do to get my hands on some of this money? Because, of course, some small landlords rely on rent as income. So the question is to whether the renters have to apply for it and then pay the landlords, or whether the landlords can make claims directly to the state. Does it vary state to state?
It will vary in some places, but the bill allows for both things. So it allows for tenants to request support under the program, but it also allows landlords to apply on behalf of their tenants as long as the tenants agree to it. They have to co-sign on the application. And in many cases, the actual payments will be going directly to landlords as long as they're willing to participate in the program. So they'll be getting payments directly as part of these programs. And this is really why you see many of the landlord groups supporting this program, is that it's a bailout for landlords as much as it is support for tenants.
Right. It's not forgiving the rent, as it were. So the Trump administration has also extended forbearance on federally funded mortgages for some low-income borrowers through February. But like all of these things that we're discussing, this is a stopgap that likely won't be there in the spring. So what steps need to be taken to protect against a real housing crisis in the long term?
Yeah, you need both solutions that work for renters, but also for owners and for homeowners as well. What we really need is Congress to follow up and pass another relief package that lays out clearer forbearance provisions for homeowners going forward, that creates a better eviction moratorium overall and increases the amount of rental assistance. What we need to do is make sure that more people don't fall into poverty, that we don't spark a major housing crisis that destabilizes the market overall. And this is just a step. I think that most of the people recognize it who voted for the bill, that more is needed. And I think what this does is buy us a little bit of time to be more conscientious about what the next relief package looks like.
And when it comes to children, it's so crucial, those families that need to get help. A recent study from Schoolhouse Connection found an estimated 420,000 students experiencing homelessness have been under-identified this school year. Experts say it's because keeping track of these kids has become much more difficult with remote learning. What sorts of ripple effects can homelessness have on other factors of family life, such as education?
I think about it. I have two kids who are in school right now, how hard it is for them to do online schooling. And then if you think about what it's like for the kids who are homeless, who are living in, with family or friends, what that's like to do schooling. What the data shows is that homelessness in a normal time makes education much more difficult, that it makes the health decline of families, it makes finding a job more difficult. But when you think about what that means in the midst of a pandemic, what that means for small children who are trying to, figure out how to log in on Zoom when they don't have any real internet connection. The kids in my son's first grade class, there's some of them that are home by themselves doing their classes and, as their parents are out trying to find work or are working. And I think that homelessness is just such an expensive proposition that, one of the key priorities for government should be to make sure that families don't fall into homelessness, because that's going to cost us so much more money and so much more of the lives of people if we let that happen during the pandemic.
Seamus Roller of the National Housing Law Project, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I need my stimulus check, yeah. 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 Okay. I need my stimulus check, yeah.
Hundreds of local families are now facing eviction.
News4Jax reporter Kelly Wiley joining us live with the looming eviction crisis in Florida. Kelly?
Yeah, the CDC moratorium protecting families from eviction has been extended through January, but landlords can still collect information on how much debt you owe them, and they can still initiate the eviction process. We talked to one out-of-work nurse who received a 3-day notice days before Christmas. Nurse Heavenly Carter has not worked since she contracted COVID-19 at work in July. Since testing negative for COVID-19, she says she still hasn't been cleared by her doctor to return to work over lingering complications of the virus.
It gave me inflammation around my heart and around my lungs.
For months, the nurse kept up with her rental payments. But by October, Carter says she'd wiped out her savings and money her neighbors fundraised for her was dwindling.
How much in debt are you with the realtor at this point?
Right now, $2,400. So, we shall. And they just sent me 2 days ago another letter, a 3-day notice. And there's no help out there for, like healthcare workers or people like me, anybody. I mean, I tried to do the Jacksonville, I applied for the assistance, but it was only good until October the 31st. I didn't need help October 31st. I needed it for November and December.
Data from the Duval County Court Clerk shows in total, there's been 43% fewer evictions filed against tenants in 2020 than last year, in part due to Florida's ban on evictions from April to July. But the data shows following Governor Ron DeSantis changing his order to allow landlords to file for eviction, the number of evictions skyrocketed. In August, landlords filed 13 times more evictions in Jacksonville than in the previous month. Currently, the CDC moratorium protecting renters from being evicted for non-payment during the pandemic is set to expire at the end of January.
It also makes you very depressed because you feel like you don't have a leg to stand on. You worked all your life. You tried your best to do what you could do to help others. And then at a time of need when you need help, there's nobody there to help you.
And if you are one of those families facing eviction, the CDC moratorium on evictions, it's not automatic. The burden is on you as the tenant to sign the declaration form that the CDC has put on their website, present that to your landlord, and present it to the courts. We do have links on our website, news4jax.com, to that CDC declaration. Reporting live in Jacksonville, Kelly Wiley, Channel 4, the local station.
I need my stimulus check, yeah. 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 Okay. I need my stimulus check, yeah.
I need. Oh, shit. All right. Shalom, Makiman. I'm going to start out by giving all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach and where I learn this truth. All right, so as you can see in that compilation, these people, they need their stimulus check, man. As Jake was singing, all right? These people hurting, all right? Esau finna put their ass, Esau finna put their ass out on these streets, all right? And it's cold as winter, all right? It's just bad news for you people, all right? And a lot of the people you seen in them videos was Edomites, all right? So-called white folks, all right? So before I get the scriptures, let me read one more article that I got queued up right here. It say a woman who parked her tiny house on her parents' property in New Hampshire was forced to move out after local government said it was illegal. All right, that's the individual you see right there on the screen. Her name is Brianna O'Brien. All right, you can see all that. I'm finna read this right here though. It say after graduated from college and moving into a tiny house on her parents' property, Brianna O'Brien found a life-altering letter in the mail, an eviction notice. 6 months later, she had decided to move back to her hometown of Hampton Falls, New Hampshire, but she couldn't afford an apartment in the area. See, all the pieces aligned for me to start looking into tiny houses, she told Insider, while pursuing Facebook Marketplace. In September 2018, she found the perfect tiny house made of salvaged wood for $29,000. She bought it using a low payment loan. All right, showing you how far Esau has fallen. All right, even his own people are struggling with living expenses. All right, it say at first she said she planned to work with the local zoning board to get the house property zoned, but her research advised her otherwise. I did a lot of crowdsourcing for advice, and the majority of folks who live in tiny houses on wheels recommended keeping it as under the radar as possible because the red tape is so difficult, she said. O'Brien decided to park it on her parents' property and didn't foresee it being a problem. It was so hidden in the bushes, she said. However, a neighbor spotted the house and brought it to the zoning board's attention. O'Brien received a letter saying her tiny house did not adhere to the zoning codes in Hampton Falls. Alright, it say when O'Brien received a notice, she began a conversation with the local building inspector. She learned that her house broke several zoning ordinances. It had no formal plumbing. It had only one form of egress, and it was close to the property line. There is no building code for tiny houses, so you have to get an occupancy permit to get it zoned, O'Brien said. It's a cycle that feeds into itself. Without a building code, it automatically breaks any zoning ordinances. All right, it say O'Brien decided to fight for a company permit and get her house properly zoned, she put together a presentation explaining how she would fix the ordinances she broke and prove that her tiny house was a viable and safe place to live full time. All right, and this is what it's come down to for a lot of these people. All right, they doing this. Whether they in RVs or whatever. All right, this is what it's come down to a lot of people. All right. Say August 22nd, O'Brien presented her case to Hampton Falls Zoning Board of Adjustment, but the board denied her request, blocking her path to legalizing her tiny house. All right, so she gotta move that shit. All right, they say the meeting notes said the board denied her request for a variance. Let me see. Let me start that again. The meeting notes said the board denied her request for a variance because it would be contrary to the public interest because the structure is currently existing. Therefore, the modifications are not in compliance and should have been discussed prior to the particular building of the structure. All right, so they basically said you should have asked us before you tried to put this shit up. All right, you should have asked us. Yeah, who told you to build on our land? You know what I'm saying? That goes also to show that you don't own that. You don't own nothing. All right. Anybody that owns a house or property or land, you really don't own it because you pay what's called a property tax. And if you don't pay that property tax, all right, they're gonna come take your property. And if you put something on that property that doesn't fit the zoning shit, as it's saying in this article right here, you know what I'm saying? You can't do it. So technically, you don't own anything. All right. You just holding that shit for now. It say additionally, the board felt that the tiny house could diminish property values. They discounted my entire argument, O'Brien said. I was devastated, embarrassed, and humbled. Woo. And that's coming to a lot of you damn women, all right? I was really hoping this board would see this issue as a leverage point for something much bigger. Now, you was thinking because you was a woman, and you know what I'm saying, a so-called white woman at that you was going to go down to Egypt and that they was going to help you, all right? But you just found out that Esau hates his own people. He hates you low-level Edomites the same way. You know what I'm saying? He hates Jacob, all right, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, all right? So, you know what I'm saying? I ain't going to read no more of this. That's pretty much it, all right? It say, let me read. I'm gonna read this last part. It say, in the end, O'Brien had to move out of the tiny house and left it standing empty on her parents' property. She also had to leave the hometown she fought so hard to live in. It was a bummer. It felt like they didn't want me, she said. Not that I took it that personally, but there is this element that I was saddened by, all right? So, you know what I'm saying? Even mommy and daddy couldn't help you, all right? Like that old song Paramount used to sing, you know what I'm saying? Welcome to the real world. You know what I'm saying? Can't go crying to your mama. You in the real world, baby. All right, so I read it. Let me get the scriptures to go with it. Y'all about some shout to be edifying. The first scripture we're going to get is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and 12. It say, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right, and that's what you're seeing, all right? It ain't no love in these streets no more, all right? It's all hell coming to this earth, all right? Especially to America, all right? Spiritual Sodom and Egypt, all right? You neighbors and you people that are friends with each other, you're going to fight each other, all right? It tells you, for neighbor shall fight against neighbor, kingdom against kingdom, city against city, all right? Slacky, 1 second. What is that scripture? 1 second, I can. All right, I thought that's what it was. This is Isaiah 19 and 2. It say, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. All right, and when you understand this scripture, this is talking about the Edomites. These are talking about the American E's, all right? Well, all of you E's pretty much, but more so I'm dealing with you American E's, all right? Because as you can see, you're gonna have class wars taking off in this thing, all right? And she, being a so-called white woman, she didn't get no love from her own people, all right? They wasn't trying to help her, all right? At all. It's another scripture, 1 second. All right, this is a precept. This is Matthew 12 and 25. It say, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. All right, so Esau is against Esau. All right, verse 26, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? All right, that's because the God of this world is Esau, all right? And Esau is the physical counterpart of Satan, all right? You Edomites, you are the wicked, all right? Malachi 1 and 4 tells you that you are the wicked, all right? 1 John chapter 3 and verse 10 tells you, and this the children of Yahweh manifest and the children of the devil. All right, the children of the devil are you Edomites. All right, you are the children of Cain reincarnated today as the Edomites. All right, you are the wicked. All right, and this earth is under your rulership, as it says in Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right, but Esau is so fucking wicked and evil. You know what I'm saying? He don't even look out for his own people. All right, he got you lower Edomites living basically like Jake lived. All right, and the scripture told you he would do that. Let me go to Ecclesiasticus, the book of Sirach. I've been reading this a lot lately. This chapter. Ecclesiasticus chapter 14 and 5, it say, he that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. All right, so you Edomites as a nation are supposed to be ruling. This is your heaven. All right, but the only ones of your nation that are ruling are the elites. All right, Amalek. All right, and the other, you know what I'm saying, international bankers. All right, it say there is none worse than he that is evil to himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. All right, and that's what Esau does. All right, he can't do good. You know what I'm saying? The scripture tell you, the wicked go astray from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. All right, so they go left as soon as they come out the womb. All right, and you know what I'm saying? That's how you Edomites get down. All right, you are the wicked. It's another precept I want to get. 1 second. All right, I'm going to go to 2 Ezra 16 now. It say, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. All right, and America is spiritual Egypt. All right, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. All right, and it's also known as mystery Babylon. All right. Go down to verse 5. It say, plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? All right, and the plagues are coming from Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. It say, may any man drive away an hungry lion in the wood, or may anyone quench the fire in stubble when it had begun to burn. May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer. The mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? All right, so that's why this is happening. All right, we go down here to verse 70. Let me see. Is this the one I want? Well, yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna start at let me see. No, well, let me see. Let me go to 15. I think it's 15. Even though 16 is gonna take place too, but I think it's 15. Yeah, the one I was looking for in particular was 15. Okay, 2 Ezra is 15. Okay, You're gonna start at verse 10. All right. No, not 10. So like your verse 14. All right. 2 Ezra is chapter 15 and verse 14. It say, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, innovating one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right, and that's what's coming. All right, 2021, which we just a couple of hours out from the so-called New Year coming in, is gonna be a hard year for a lot of people. All right. If Yahweh Hashem Yahushua ain't covering you and ain't dealing with you, you know what I'm saying? This is going to be bad times for you, all right? You're going to be out there, all right? So, you know what I'm saying? This was just something I put together. You know what I'm saying? Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, right desire was edifying. Close out with that. Give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Hashem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach and where I learn this truth. Peace and salutations to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua's elect. Shalom.